Hey, everybody, and welcome to Norm and Katie's Legal Fight Club. The normal rule of Fight Club is what happens in Fight Club stays in Fight Club. But here at our Fight Club, what's the rule, Katie?
We take those rules and we throw them out the window, Norm. We share everything we know about the law, politics, advocacy. But you know what, Norm? We're here to make sure that everybody who's tuning in, subscribing, and watching us understands kind of the inside baseball of why things are rolling out that the way that they are. And Norm, Democracy Defenders Fund has a huge, huge win that we can talk about. What is it, Norm?
Well, Katie, we know that Donald Trump wants to go after our elections because if he can illegitimately and illegally get a hold of the ballot box, then he'll be able to control the outcomes. Katie, you and I and our Legal Fight Club friends and our Democracy Defenders Fund crew and our Contrarian paid subscribers are not going to let Donald Trump steal our votes. And we had a huge court victory, friends. A federal district court in the District of Columbia granted summary judgment. That means a final order, not a preliminary order, not a temporary order, a final order that Donald Trump does not get to take control of our elections as he tried to do with an executive order. And that's so important for the day before we have elections in our country. And here's what it was all about. Donald Trump, in his executive order, wanted the national voter registration form. Everybody who votes in a federal election has to provide a proof of citizenship. There's no need for that. There's already so many different proofs that voters are who they say they are. There's no evidence of fraud. That incidents are so tiny. What's really going on here, Katie? What is really going on when Trump says, I want every voter to prove their citizenship in a federal election?
Well, Norm, at least 21.3 million Americans don't have access to, quote, government issued proof of citizenship. So let's just operate with that number straight out of the gate. And this government issued proof of citizenship require that was by way of some executive order that Trump announced in March of this year, that would have disproportionately impacted the ability for women who have gotten married, for example, and changed their last names, other people, communities of color, and people that just don't have the financial means to be able to obtain things like passport, because Norm, we know none of it's free. It costs money and time to be able to do these things. It would have disenfranchised millions upon millions of voters. But look, Norm, don't take my word for it. We know that this has been a long, calculated plan and scheme on the part of Donald Trump to take away the voting ability of people. Why? Because he knows it's the only way that he's going to be able to win. Just take a listen. This is from years ago. Take a listen to him.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late.
I mean, Norm, you said yourself, the reality is the incidence of election voter fraud is exceedingly rare, but Trump likes to inject fear into everything he does. And so he's trying to galvanize his base into thinking that a whole bunch of people are illegally trying to steal these elections.
It basically never happens that somebody who is not a citizen votes in our election. With the hundreds of millions of votes, that kind of thing happens a couple times a year. There's no indication that it's ever mattered to an election. And folks, what's really going on here, and this matters so much the night before we have big nationwide elections, Donald Trump is engaging in fear mongering. and he is trying to suppress the votes. He wants to make it easier for voters who he believes support him to go to the polls and cast a ballot. And he wants to make it tougher for the rest of us. That's why you're all members of Norm and Katie's Legal Fight Club, particularly if you take out a paid subscription to the Contrarian, because we are owned by nobody at the Contrarian. So all profits go to support cases like this one. The lead plaintiff in the case is LULAC, our nation's leading civil rights organization. And we're so proud in our democracy litigation, Katie and I, and all of our dozens of colleagues at DDF, we're so proud to serve as principal outside counsel, the main outside lawyers for LULAC. And we agreed with Juan Proano, the great head of LULAC, hey, as soon as Donald Trump issued that executive order, it had to be fought in court. And that's just what we did. We got a terrific coalition together, and there were all the nonpartisan plaintiffs represented by folks like me and Katie and our colleagues, the ACLU, Campaign Legal Center, many other wonderful civil rights and voting rights groups. And friends, this is how you do it. This is how you meet flood the zone autocracy with rule of law, shock and awe. You come together, you make a big tent, you build big coalitions, and together we had more power than Donald Trump did to implement this, and we got that fantastic victory, stopping him from needlessly demanding proof of a voter's citizenship. There's no need for it.
Yeah, and Norm, listen, what happened was an 81-page ruling. An opinion was entered by a federal judge in the District of Columbia. It also accompanied a decision just a little bit ago from a judge in federal court in Massachusetts that was also stopping Donald Trump in that executive order from March of this year from trying to force all ballots to be counted by Election Day. Things like that, those unnecessary conditions, all of these judges have said that it violates the separation of powers, that the basis of this legal ruling is that Congress has been designated the role to dictate how elections roll out with assistance from the states, and the states also do it themselves. So once again, an example of executive overreach by Donald Trump is shut down, and it's because you and I and our coalition partners did what? We went to court. We fought in the court of law. We made sure we accompanied it with a fighting in the court of public opinion as well. And we did it with the help of all of you that are tuning in and watching and that are supporting the work that we're doing.
And we're going to need to keep doing it. We have one more clip of Donald Trump making his intentions very clear. Let's listen to that, and then we're going to tell you how we're going to push back and keep on winning.
Look at what's going on in your state. Every day, they're talking about extending hours and stuff. Who ever heard of this stuff? We should have one-day voting and paper ballots. You know, the ones that should be locked up are the ones that cheat on these horrible elections that we go through in our country.
Horrible elections, Norm? They're elections, and they're supposed to happen fair and free. And that's why you and I are fighting as hard as we are to make sure that everybody gets that chance. But here's the thing. We're not advocating for illegal votes to happen. We're making sure that it's done properly, and we have judges that understand the rule of law, the separation of powers, and that the norms and institutions have to be respected.
That's right, Katie. And our colleagues at the Democracy Defenders Fund are spread out across the country: New Jersey, Virginia, the Pennsylvania Supreme Judicial Court retention races, California. Wherever that Donald Trump threat is, we are ready. That's what's so special about Norm and Katie's Legal Fight Club. By being a part of our fight club, you are a part of that peaceful, lawful fight to protect our elections, to protect our democracy all across the country. We have a QR code for you, friends, and you can simply do what you need to do with that QR code up on your screen, and that can send you more information on how you can be a part of this fight going forward. Katie, last word to you.
We've got exciting votes that are going on tomorrow, elections in places like Virginia and New Jersey and California. Democracy remains on the ballot, Norm. We can't emphasize or underscore the importance of making sure that people, if you're in those jurisdictions, in those states, get out there, exercise your right to be able to have your vote heard. And Norm and I at Legal Fight Club are going to be joining you the day after so that we can break down what happened.